Christus augere, Christus augere, Christus, Christus, Christus. Perhaps at this Mass we could then pray that it is time to intercede on our behalf, since she was one of those strongly opposed to German Nazism. Intervene and pray that men's heart towards women should change, as much as she prayed for the German Nazis to change. I should know better about Edith Stein. One of our colleagues who were students in Rome, Piero Archiati, I don't know what, hopefully it's not here, so you wouldn't remember, you wouldn't possibly not know him. He came out when we completed our studies to come and teach at Sidara. He was a fan of Edith Stein. He always talked about Edith Stein. He probably drove away from wanting to know more about Edith Stein. Anyhow, I promised myself that before the end of the year, I will have read something about Edith Stein. At the back of our mind, the word that struck me from the gospel, he will repay every one of us for what we have done. Young men, young women who grow up in the four-roomed houses throughout South Africa, I bet also in other places around the world, young men, young women who grow up in the informal settlements, they all have a dream to build their mothers a house or to extend the house or to put a toilet in the house and not outside so that their mothers don't have to walk out at night. It's an instinct in all of those people who grew up in such environments. I guess the reason for wanting to buy a house for one's mother is probably, as I say, it's instinct, but probably a sense of indebtedness to the mother who brought them up, who gave them life. And so it's a way of saying thank you, but it's also a way of just being a way of feeling that it is not, there's something missing in the way they live, in the oppressive circumstances, and want to escape that. But it's kind of like to rescue the mother. But very sure, not many young people, if you ask around, you want to buy your mother a house, why not your father? Very few of them say, I want to buy my father a house. Very few. I assume because fathers didn't buy the mother the house in the first place. So why bother about him? Once I was told that one of our seminarians was about to be ordained, but he comes from an informal settlement. So I told the Vicar General, oh, okay, let us build his mother a house. So he went to tell this fellow that, we say we will build your mother a house. And he objected. And I said, but the normal four-roomed house costs about 400,000. I said, no, we buy him a metropolitan. The houses they build around the country, metropolitan, houses. They cost about 800,000. We'll buy him one. And he objected. He says, what will the other priest say? I said, that's none of your business. Worry about your mother, not the other priest. So he didn't accept the offer. 5 years later, he comes around, hey, my mother, my mother. I said, your mother is dead. We made you an offer and you refused. What do you want from us now? Go. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted us to buy the diocese, to buy a mother house, I said, you know what? If we don't do that, he'll be forced to steal money from the parish to help her mother, because that's what priests do. I don't know about your priest, but mine, for example, I have a fellow, he harasses the finance committee of the parish. He wants his money. We're only given 3.8. And he wants his money. They don't give him, they don't always make that amount to be able to give him his money every month. So he harasses them. They complain to me, what do we do? I say, why do you want this money so urgently? He says, I've got to feed my parents. They're in Nigeria. You didn't come here to work for your parents. Well, but then I can understand the reality. He needs to feed his parents. He feels that obligation. And so, even our priests, they need money to build, to extend their mothers' houses. Or at least to help their parents survive. I know I'm belaboring the point. But it's in the DNA of every young person to try and, ideally, in their 20s, in their early 30s, before they get married, to try and help their parents. It's a big thing. We don't always talk about it, but it's there. Some of the young priests I have from Zimbabwe, their accounts are Mukuru accounts. It's not Standard Bank, it's Mukuru. I say, why do you want Mukuru? They want the Mukuru account because then their folks can withdraw money when they are in Zimbabwe. You know, they don't have to be hustled by the local banks here. So that obligation, moral obligation, I guess, to support your people is very strong. The question I am raising, another interesting point, is that most of the priests I have ordained, continue to ordain, they don't have fathers. You see it at ordination, when the parents are supposed to bring the candidate to the bishop before ordination, it's always a mother and perhaps an uncle or something like that. Or even in the application forms, or when they come for interviews, you realize that most of them, those who have parents are very few, who have a father with them who comes, or even the name of a father, they're very few. Most of them are brought up by single mothers. And therefore you can understand the attachment to the mother and the desire to relieve the mother of all the stress and pain it needs. Now, the question I'm raising is, if that is our constitution as young people, if that is our makeup, this great attachment, thankfulness, respect, and worried about the dignity of the mother, how come that is not applied to all women? Why then do we grow to become such animals towards women, when in fact we've got this great love for our mothers? I don't understand why. What I don't understand also is men. Men who fall in love and stay with a woman for 5 years or even more or less. And when there's conflict in the family, the man beats up the wife. Somebody you've been praising and adoring and kneeling before, suddenly the wife is the worst enemy on earth. Not only are they insulted, they are even chased out of the house and even killed. And so femicide is so common in South Africa. And I ask myself, where does this come from? These are people who once loved their mothers, who just become beasts as they grow older. And I don't understand, because I thought if you had loved somebody for so many years, and then you don't see eye to eye as you grow older, all you need to do is take your jacket and go, instead of fight. It's the court cases of divorce, the divorce cases that are so painful. And you wonder why a man just doesn't go. Some are so vicious, grateful. Not only do they want to remove the wife from the insurance or health scheme, took whatever they bought for the wife, take away the car, and even killed the dog. That's how vindictive men can become. And so I ask myself, what happens then to the virtue, this passion of wanting to glorify, to dignify, to respect our mothers? Then we suddenly lose these virtues of compassion, of solidarity, the empathy, the gratitude. We suddenly lose all these virtues. And yet they are supposed to be part of our constitution. Look at what Christ does. Or we are told that in heaven, he crowned her mother, Mary. At times they depict him with angels at the coronation, or some artists depict her with God the Father and the Holy Spirit, and they're putting a crown on her head. Don't think I've ever come up with a reading that explains this coronation, but it's this great appreciation of Christ appreciating her mother, the role of Mary in our redemption. But if it is in man, if it is in sons, if it is in God the Son to do that, why do men become beasts? And so today we celebrate Women's Day. It is for this that we pray, that men should become human beings as they grow older, rather than wild animals. You see, we ourselves, the Catholic Church, as priests, as bishops in the Catholic Church, we don't necessarily have a good reputation, by the way, about women. We don't. We always seen, nobody complains about it. I see women love their priests, but deep down, they're calling us names. Now, I'm not going to repeat what they say. But we exclude them. No, we accept them. We accept them. They are the congregation. In fact, they are the majority in any community. They are the majority. They support the priest. But somehow or other, they say that there is an inbuilt prejudice against women, inbuilt prejudice amongst the clergy, the Catholic clergy. I'm not sure what we're going to do about that. I don't think we're going to do much. Now, Bishop Stambele, I'm not sure whether this is what you said the other day when we were talking about viri probati, about the ordination of women. That sin you should include in the list of sins you are going to confess. Was it Benedict who said we should never raise that topic of ordaining women? John Paul. Yes. So it's a sin then. You have to add it to your list. And so that's how women look at us. They are very friendly, very sympathetic, but deep down, some of them articulate this anger that we have excluded them from ordination. They're not going to fight, most of them, about it. They just accept it. You have those who go to the extreme and ordain themselves, etc. And so we're not necessarily the good ones either. We might not be beating up our wives, but we do something to women. And women feel strong about it, and we're not doing anything about it. It's too late perhaps, but I would have suggested that each time when we meet on the 9th of June, we produce a pastoral letter on women. Because these crimes against women will not go away, even if we wish, but always raise the awareness about hopeful to try and convert men. More that now that we have lots of men associations and sodalities coming up to be able to target men, that they change their attitude towards women. I don't understand. You love somebody but you beat her up? I don't understand. But that's what men do. There's a kind of a schizophrenia that's taking place in men's minds. And so I would have said that we do a pastoral letter on a day like this, or at the level of the diocese. I can no longer do that myself. I look in the west and I see the sun going. So anyhow, anyone who's going to take Joe back, I suggest you do that. And so the line with which I started, the Son of God will make us repay for all the things we have done or not done.